you liked that last video on the 3 best pieces of relationship advice that no one ever told you. In the spirit of love, February is in the air. How about 3 more? Now you can use these to improve your current relationship, make your next one better, or even prevent losing the love of your life. Here we go. So I had this ex-girlfriend, which is a great thing to talk about on YouTube. Fortunately, it was a mature split and everything's fine. Reflecting on it and thinking back, so we were having problems and I wanted to read a book together, solve it. And there was one time I'll never forget that we were fighting and I'm like, well, I want to work on this. And she said this, Clark, relationships shouldn't be work. It was a little more dramatic and there was more tears than that, but that was the gist of it. That common thread is woven into, I think, a lot of different areas and kind of the root of a lot of relationship problems. It shouldn't take work. The scary thing is that falling in love doesn't take work. That's why they call it falling in love. You fall. That doesn't take much work, does it? It just happens to you. You get taken away and your heart gets ripped out like it's tied on a string and a jet ski's pulling you behind it. Falling in love is one of the easiest things in the world. Staying in love, staying in a relationship, making that work, that takes work. That takes effort. Now it's true, you shouldn't have to force things. Okay, you shouldn't have to force a relationship. But what in life that's worth having doesn't actually take any work? You got fitness, takes a lot of physical work. You got a business or making money. It takes a lot of strategic or logical work to make that happen. You got creating the 2.0 version of you, doing this inner work, raising yourself up. That takes a lot of emotional work, doesn't it? One step further, that which doesn't take any work isn't worth having. I said this was the best relationship advice no one told you, so let's give you another best piece of advice. Love the saying, easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. Sounds like something you'd hear on a fishing boat late at night smoking cigars. He's a man of few words, but he told me this. Do you want the easy body that doesn't take work? Easy money habits, just spend it all. What do you mean you have to pay back credit? No one told me. My point is, don't be afraid of the work. Anything worth having in life takes work. Growth is a slow process sometimes that can be messy. If something's wrong in the relationship, sometimes it doesn't mean you're in the wrong relationship. Problems in the relationship can be valid. They can be warning signs. I'm not saying if they got a binge drinking problem, they're verbally abusive, you should just stay with the dude. I'm not saying if she's cheating on you, going out having girls' night every single weekend, you gotta simp and cry in the corner and just get over it. Welcome to relationships, dude. What matters more than the problems is how you're doing overall. I have no clue how to measure this, but John Gottman does. I think he's actually from my hometown in Seattle. Anyway, he works with couples, seen thousands of them, and he found with 90% accuracy, he could predict if a couple would stay together or divorce. The secret, what he used to measure, was their ratio of positive to negative interactions. Watch the tape back for 10 minutes and he'd count positive, negative, positive, positive, negative, 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 positive, negative. And if that ratio wasn't 5-to-1, meaning for every positive interaction they needed 5 of those, for every 1 negative interaction, comment, bicker, nag, whatever, the money line was leaning towards this than this. So 5-to-1 is the magic formula, meaning if you had a camera on you and your relationship for 24 hours a day, and it wasn't 5-to-1, it wouldn't look too good. Now here's the good news, you can change this. Which brings us to our best piece of advice, number 2. In college, one of my professors told me this. Clark, if you're unhappy being single, chances are that you're gonna remain unhappy even after entering a relationship. People go into relationships looking for qualities that they lack within themselves. So you hear terms like, they complete me. And that can be good if you're talking about a partnership. They do the dishes, you don't. They drive, you don't. Personally, where I think that quote goes a little too far is when you're talking 2 halves make a whole. They take that logic of completion, meaning that I am incomplete without this person. They need to complete my values, my beliefs, my self-worth, my self-love, my validation. And if you don't have this when you're single, just like my professor said, you're not gonna have it when you're in a relationship. To go even further, people will sense that you lack that and be repelled by you. And if you do get a relationship, it can be a recipe for disaster. You ever heard of someone breaking up because they needed to find themselves? My favorite truth on relationships is that we need to stop trying to look for the right person. We need to start trying to become the right person. Here's the truth. 10s attract 10s. And I don't just mean looks-wise, I mean, sure, to an extent, but I mean emotionally, mentally, self-worth, spiritually, conspiratorially. You're into aliens, they are too. Instead of trying to go for this 10 when, let's just say arbitrarily, you're at a 5, even if you get that person, you date them, you win, you struck out, what are you gonna say? They're out of my league. I feel out of their league. I don't feel worthy of this person. All right, you following this? Wrong way, right way. Work on yourself, become the 10, raise yourself up. And when you start raising yourself up because you're not looking, you're just becoming, the people, the opportunities, the things in your life naturally raise up, and lo and behold, you're on the same level. Especially if you do our third best point. I had this client who comes to mind, and she couldn't get over an ex. She was in her 40s, someone she dated back in her 20s. She had all these memories with him. She still had the photos. It was really painful for her. Now, she tried dating. It wasn't that. Because when she dated, she swore she was just having the same dude over and over and over again. Dates, fizzles out, keeps thinking of her ex, they break up, and the cycle repeats. She's like, I don't do one night stands, but apparently I'll do a 2-year waste my fucking time. I'll do that back to back for 10 years. Joined our coaching program, we were working with her. Things she needed to do wasn't more techniques to like attract a guy into her life that was gonna solve and complete her, like we talked about. What she needed to do is release and let go of the stories about her ex. Put her through our NLP techniques. She had an amazing experience. But what was interesting with her, particularly when I was talking to her, is we discovered that she didn't need to let go of that person. Because that can be kind of scary. Like, I love them, I care about them, I don't want to let go of that. When she distilled it down deeper and deeper, she realized that that person didn't actually exist. It was a story she kept telling herself and had been telling herself for 10, 15 plus years. And reality is that person could have been a total asshole, treated her like shit, and they broke up for a reason that was actually pretty good and valid. But the fantasy in her head that she kept replaying and got deeper ingrained year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 was much different. Why does our brain do that? Why does it hold on to seemingly like negative experiences and flip them into positive ones that we just can't let go of and that actually end up creeping into future relationships? Talk to a lot of people who can't get over an ex, and it's literally robbing them from committing, from dating, from going all in with other people because of this fantasy that this ex is gonna come in and tell you I was wrong and swoop you up and it's gonna be the happily ever after. Now, consciously we might not say that, but maybe subconsciously there's some pleasure in the back of our head around that fantasy. Let's keep going. 2 explanations. The first, in order to fully let go, some things, someone, some past, some desire, you have to drop 2 sides of the coin, the pain and the pleasure. The pain is obvious. Oh, my ex, they broke my heart. I feel like crap over them. Like, I want to let go of that. But the pleasure is that fantasy that we're talking about, that person, that story that doesn't even exist, because objectively they don't. You have to be willing to drop that. Any possibility of you and them getting back together, you gotta let go. Any possibility of them saying they were wrong and apologizing and whatever you have in your head, you gotta let that go too. The second explanation to this is actually how your mind works. Rooted in neuroscience. I was reading in a book, I believe it was Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, talks about logical fallacies, that your brain isn't rational, even though we think it is. It's got a host of bugs and biases that hold us back in our decision making. It's pretty amazing. One of them is called the peak end fallacy. For your brain, it's impossible to remember every conversation of every person you've ever met and every experience in your whole life. It's a lot of data to store. So what does it do? Like a cache file on your computer that's a summary so it can recall things really quick. You cache emotional experiences and categories or even years of your life into a couple compartments. It remembers the peak emotional state of that experience or that person, how it ended, okay? The very end of it, which is obvious in this case, the breakup, sometimes the beginning, other details, everything in between. And I think this is infinitely fascinating. If you apply that fallacy to relationships, why is it so hard for people to get over ex? Because they got the peak, that's what they recall in their mind. Everything was so great and it was amazing and we had this awesome relationship, even if it was or wasn't objectively, that's what you remember. And you remember the breakup, which really sucked. And so your mind's going back, it's going, that was awesome, that sucked, that was amazing, I want them back. And it's getting really sad and people do this to themselves over again. That's why they can't move on and get over. So the solution to number 3, which is to heal and to let go, is the trap is that most people get in relationships to feel less lonely, thinking that it's gonna solve this, but it's not. You need to overcome it by fully letting go. Reprogramming your subconscious mind. This can be done through journaling. Maybe it's talking to someone, therapist, CBT therapy. Maybe it's working with an NLP coach and getting to the roots of the positive intent behind any negative act, like we do in our metamorphic coaching program with people. Maybe it's designing a better version that gets you excited, this 2.0, this next version of you, so you can bring that into the future relationship, into your next one or your current one, and make that even better. If you'd like to work with us, I'll link down below an application that you can apply and find out more about what we do, how we can help you create this next version, this level 10 version of you, so you can attract that 10 and be on the same level of it. Apply down below, spots fill up. You can talk to someone from my team. They can give you all the details. Letting go can be easier said than done. And so I want to give you a few techniques. These are something you can use instantly today, tomorrow, to really dive in and do what we were talking about. The video is right here and I'll give you those techniques in it. I'll see you there.